biased mainstream resources and legacy publishers that had no investment in telling the truth about what was going on the ground in Gaza would, or the ambitions of Hamas, the ambitions of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, the Palestinian resistance, they just misinformed their populations. They misinformed the public. And they're doing the same thing right now. And it's even dumber because at least like in that circumstance, albeit still totally unacceptable, these were non-state actors. Non-state actors that don't have English language communicators, non-state actors who were effectively shut out from developing a line of communication with the rest of the world, right? So then it's good. It was much easier. But of course, do they have the interest in doing so? That's a whole different question. I don't think they do. I don't think they care enough about it. Hopefully, time will prove me wrong.
There was going to be a restriction on any operations in Lebanon or against Iranian proxies. I was pretty sure there was no way that Israel could agree to that. And so again, it's a mistake to claim a victory on something before you can be really sure that it's going to be done. And unfortunately this is a.
I think you're wrong. The Nordic countries are united. The Greenland issue is one example. Dude, buddy, friend. It took them, Donald Trump directly threatening military annexation in direct violation of the principles that NATO exists on, for them to finally fucking come out and be like, what are you saying? Donald Trump literally threatened annexation and invasion of Europe, of a part of the European continent, for them to finally say, okay, you can't do that. And the response to that was literally, yo, you're treating us like we're a brown country. Fucking chill. It was pretty obvious what was going on because they were celebrating the violation of Venezuelan sovereignty with the Maduro kidnapping, with the sham trial that they've set up, right? They loved that. And then Donald Trump turned around and was like, I'm going to do to you what I'm doing to everybody else. He put Europe and the European continent in his rapist crosshairs. And all of a sudden, everyone's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We loved it when you were doing it to Venezuela. Macron at the time sent private text messages that we now know of to Donald Trump. Do you know what he did? Do you know what he said in those private text messages? He said, don't fuck around with Greenland. What are you doing? It's a European country. We can do wonderful things together in Iran. That's what he said. We can do wonderful things together in Iran. Now we're doing the wonderful things without France in Iran. If you want to understand what these guys' mentality looks like, look no further than statements like that, right?
Consistent problem with the administration of making claims about things that are just not the case, and that only damages us in the long run.
CNN's Anna Kuba joins us live now from London. So, Anna, I mean, listen, just in terms of where oil prices have gone, I mean, obviously after that ceasefire deal was announced just yesterday, we saw Brent crude, that we have it on the screen, and WTI all trading lower. They're roughly around $95 a barrel. Obviously, it's going to take some time, despite technically the fact that even yesterday the Strait of Hormuz was open. We all knew that it would take some time.
Yeah, this guy's really good. Esfandiar. Batman Gilij. That sounds like a Turkic ass last name. Iranified. Probably not. Maybe Batman is actually not a Turkish word. Batman is Batman, but also, oh, it could be Armenian maybe? Or maybe Azeri? I don't know. Anyway, whatever. Iran needs to know that Trump can control Bibi. That is the single most important factor in any kind of durable peace. Forcing Israel to stop hammering Lebanon is the test. If the administration doesn't understand this, there's really no chance that the ceasefire will hold. And he is absolutely right. Oh, here, you want to see the cuckening? You want to see how cucked Europe is? Here's Mark Rutte, NATO chief. Yeah, Trump is daddy. Remember? That's what he said. That's what he said about Donald Trump. Okay, Mark Rutte. Yeah, okay, let's hear what he had to say. Jake Tapper asked him a good question.
When President Trump threatened to kill the entire Iranian civilization, did that bother you at all as a diplomat?
Well, you know, what I always say when it comes to what leaders are saying, I'm not commenting on everything. What I want you to know is that I support the president, and I know large parts of Europe do, when it comes to taking out the capacity of Iran to export chaos to the region, to Europe, to the whole world. They are one of the main enablers of Russia's war effort in Ukraine. We all know this.
Yeah, all the drones.
With the drones, it is an existential threat to Israel if they would get their hands on a nuclear capability. It is great to try to negotiate it away, but we also always knew that with North Korea, it took too long, and then North Korea had its hand on a nuclear, and then you cannot negotiate any longer, and they have that power. Effectively.
When
Yeah. Yeah, Mark Rutte. Is daddy. Trump is daddy. When will we be able to get a trim? Hopefully this weekend or before this weekend. Rutte is not German. I mean, yeah, I have like a similar. Dog, I'm Dutch. Imagine having this guy as a minister, president for 12 years and now still having to hear this demon in a higher position. My number one op, Austin Ox, New York Post, trying to smear a song saying he's from California when the real dirt is that he's from New Jersey. California influencer embraced by Dems went on racist anti-Asian rant. Viral video reveals. It's so funny. It's like this kind of shit doesn't fucking work, man. Yeah, racist anti-Asian rant, and the rant is me shitting on some fucking crazy MAGA supporter that's like, we need to literally kill immigrants, and Donald Trump is going to do that. Yeah, I don't give a fuck. You know? Go ahead. Go ahead, dude. Good luck with this. It's like, you're fucking New York Post, man. What is this? Emma Vigeland?
Dubs, if someone dug up my grandma for that, I'd be pretty upset.
I wouldn't care.
I would,
dead.
yeah.
I got dead grandparents.
Yeah, right.
I don't care. When I die, you can dig me up, Hassan, and fuck me. Sorry. Wrong podcast.
That's what the fuck. I see you avoiding going to New Jersey for Annalie May and Adam Hamawi. We're noticing you won't step back into your homeland. Okay, dude.
Hassan specifically is gonna.
You can, Hassan, yeah.
Is the first guy you're gonna go to that will fuck your corpse.
Well, that was the premise of the whole thing.
No,
I mean, any other
That's where your
schmuck.
mind
I
went.
mean, it better be a Twitch celebrity. Not anybody disrupting my
Somebody with the
eternal
guns
sleep.
to dig 6 feet deep.
Brian's fantasy.
That's insane.
Oh, I hear the
Don't kink shame me.
Yes.
I hear the soil being removed from my coffin. I'm getting more and more excited.
Honestly, this anti-necrophilia mood on
know.
It's so toxic on the left.
Dig me out, Hassan.
What has the DPRK done since getting a nuke? Did they nuke Seoul yet? Dog, do you think that's the point of getting nukes? Are you fucking stupid? The point of nukes is not to use them. The point of nukes is to never use them. You've greatly misunderstood why countries develop nuclear sovereignty. The fuck? I guess that's, oh, it's sarcasm, Mr. Hassan. Oh, got it. Yeah, the only country that developed nukes to use them is the United States of America, ironically enough. We're the only fucking psychopaths that use nukes on civilian population.
Can someone please clip this and send it to him?
Oh, God.
I think he'll get a kick out of
Just
it.
want to say that that was the initial I am. Hassan was the example. That's where that reference came from.
Scott Croissant says that's so valid, Brian.
Thank you. I feel seen.
Brian Score says, come on, Hassan. Come find me.
It's cold down here.
They aren't joking. Yeah, they're going to clip this out of context and start attacking them too. All right, let's keep it going.
To sort of recoup the 20% of global oil that was lost during the war. Now that there is this fragile ceasefire and things do appear to be volatile and the strait is closed technically at this point onwards, just walk us through what that means for oil prices going forward, Anna.
Well, you're right. There was an enormous amount of optimism in markets, plunging oil prices, but we're still high. You know, the prices are still high. They're still not what they were before the war. Brent, the global benchmark, was around $73. Now we can see there it's around 94. So there's still a way to go. And the terms of this ceasefire, or the way it's playing out currently, as you've said, are incredibly volatile. We're seeing that because of these strikes in Beirut, Iran is now saying that oil tankers can't get through the strait. And already the terms of the strait reopening as a result of this ceasefire were, causing some really big questions for oil traders and for buyers. And that's because Iran was saying that it was still going to make sure that oil tankers were passing the strait in coordination with its military. And that raises questions as to whether we're going to see a similar dynamic play out, as Iran not allowing ships that have any sort of link to the US or Israel, whether they be insured or owned or crewed by countries that are aligned with Israel or the US. Is that still going to be the situation? And the big question mark about tolls. There were lots of reports around certain ships paying up to $2 million. That was a figure that was being bandied about to pass the strait. And now we've got reporting that says that Iran and Oman are thinking about allowing ships to pass through if they pay a transit fee. So I think that probably explains why we've seen these enormous falls, because of the ceasefire itself, but not really back to where they need to be, which is where they were before the war.
Massive destruction in the heart of Beirut, in the centre and the west of the city, bustling residential and commercial districts, not just the southern suburbs, the Hezbollah strongholds, though they've been hit too. Is anyone in there, a man calls out, hoping for signs of life beneath this rubble, great piles of it. 100 targets hit across Beirut, the eastern Bekaa Valley and the country's south, all in the space of 10 minutes. Israel's largest attack since the start of the war.
Bro, why? Why do you keep saying this? You just keep spamming, hey, Russia, China, and North Korea are prepping for war? Where is this coming from?
And weeks in the planning.
I've said temporary ceasefire with Iran wouldn't include Hezbollah, and we continue to strike them with all our might. Today, we've dealt them the biggest blow suffered since the pages. We have attacked 100 targets in 10 minutes in places they were certain were immune and bulletproof.
And there are significant civilian casualties. How could there not be with this amount of firepower?
Bro, Israel is one speed. That's it. Anytime they don't get their way, they're like a petulant child. But a petulant child armed with nukes and unlimited weapons from the most powerful country on the planet. They literally just go, it's murder time. And they strike with unlimited force at whichever group of people that are seemingly the most defenseless. Classic. They did this every single time. They would just hit Gaza extra hard whenever they didn't get their way. Iran would start fucking retaliating after Israel would like blow up an embassy or something, and then they would hit Gaza. Now they're doing it to Lebanon.
And no prior warning. Hundreds
Just can't go
killed,
on.
More than 1,000 wounded.
It's a crime after a crime. They are martyrs. God bless them. What can we do? We are doing our duty. This is a crime. The state has to do something.
This is a separate skirmish, Donald Trump has said, of Israel's fight with Hezbollah, not part of the deal he'd struck. But Iran wanted the guns to stop with this war too, and will be weighing its response. For Israel to hit Lebanon this hard at this point suggests that it is trying to inflict maximum damage on Hezbollah while it still can and before it is forced to stop. We're 10 kilometers from the border here. This is one of those northern communities that has seen its fair share of Hezbollah strikes. And it is...
Why are we... I mean, I know the answer, but it's crazy that they're still literally presenting this as though like there's a real military purpose. Like, no, man, they're not striking against Hezbollah. They're just killing civilians. Okay? That's it. Their goal is not to strike against Hezbollah. They can't strike against Hezbollah. That's why they're killing civilians. Okay? That much is clear. And they did this for months and months. They did this for 2 fucking years almost. They went in. They accomplished 0 military goals against Hezbollah. They got their ship pushed in. They had to retreat. And the only time they made gains against Hezbollah was when they were just like blowing up entire city blocks. That's it.
It's towns like this that Israel has said that it is determined to protect at seemingly any cost.
You are looking at this one.
Okay.
Okay, and we are somewhere else.
Sarit Zehavi runs a center which focuses on the security challenges on Israel's northern border. She thinks Israel is right to press on.
We are tired of wars. We want to make sure that this time something will truly change.
Are you prepared to have the war with Iran ongoing if it means that you can keep fighting Hezbollah?
We are prepared to defend ourselves as much as it takes.
But these don't look much like defensive strikes, whatever Israel says. And Iran is taking note. The Speaker of the Parliament posting that negotiations were unreasonable with 3 of their key conditions unmet: the ceasefire in Lebanon, the entry of a drone into Iranian airspace, and the denial of Iran's right to enrich uranium. This ceasefire deal is already soaked in Lebanese blood, even if there are some miraculous rescues. Israel and Iran both have their fingers on the trigger, ready should the other blink first.
Ceasefire looks like very good news for the global economy. Very good news for anyone filling up at a British petrol station too. But there's expectation and then there's reality. Reality is a bit messy. We'll talk about why that is. But first of all, look, here's the good news. Oil prices. They had been going up, of course, because of this conflict, going up very sharply. They are now going down. They're still higher, way higher than they were before, but at least they are not still going up. And that's the same for gas prices too. They are coming down at the same time. Now, that is because a lot of this relies on passage through the Strait of Hormuz. And here we're going to start talking about the reality. This shows traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. Again, you can see exactly when the war started. That traffic really plunges. That's why it was such a threat to the global economy, to people filling up petrol here and all around the world. So what has been happening since the Strait was declared open? Well, we've been tracking this using marine traffic. And since the ceasefire was announced, in the hours up to that point, we've only seen 2 vessels go through. And look where they've gone through. These are bulk carriers. They've gone through Iranian waters. Actually, one started in Iranian waters before they make their way out. So this isn't perhaps what we might be expecting in terms of global shipping getting moving again. And bear in mind that route. It's really important, close to Iran. So this is the Strait of Hormuz, sort of map form. This is how it usually works. That red line, ships go through there unimpeded. They just go about their normal business, and that means you can get a lot of volume, a lot of stuff in and out. This green dotted line is the Iran-controlled route. We've seen ships taking that throughout this conflict. The fact that even with the Strait open, ships are still taking this route suggests Iran is maintaining control. So what is happening here? If the Strait's open, why aren't ships going through it? Well, there's a lot of uncertainty. A lot of that is down to maybe different statements, different conceptions of what opening the Straits means. We've got Donald Trump on the left, his statement, and Iran's foreign ministry on the right. We don't have to...
I mean, I think it's pretty clear what it is, right? For people who are aware of what's going on, yeah, no, you can... well, in the initial ceasefire proposal, it was very obvious that, like, Iran, as long as you pay a toll to Iran, you can get safe passage. They were most likely going to start processing those payments automatically rather than having them port, like rather than having them go to one of their ports to dock, and instead just go through whatever payment processor that they have, make that payment, go through easily, right? But then obviously Israel struck Lebanon, and Iran was like, all right, fuck you. Strait of Hormuz is closed. Anyway, there's a new statement from Trump. President Trump issued a statement following his meeting with Secretary General Rutte. NATO wasn't there when we needed them, and they won't be there if we need them again. Remember Greenland, that big, poorly run piece of ice. Awesome. I like that he's threatening the European Union and threatening NATO allies by, once again, threatening to invade Greenland militarily. Yeah, that's cool. He's giving the game away, right? I guess after receiving the same blowjob over and over again, you kind of get bored of it, right? You would assume Mark Rutte developed new techniques of sucking him off from the back and maybe, you know, applying pressure to his G-spot or something to like switch it up a little bit. But kind of feels like this time around, Trump was like, you've sucked me the same way. I need a new suck. I need a new suck, Mark. You're not sucking great. You got to put your tongue in it, Mark. Bring in Laura Loomer. She's a free spirit. She will lead the way. And then Politico thought it was crazy to compare him to Hitler. Yeah, I don't think anyone thinks it's crazy to compare him to Hitler. I think it's a controversial enough statement that they're trying to tie back. But again, it's as bad as you make it as the candidate. And I think Abdul dealt with that so well in the moment where he was like, what are you talking about? He just threatened to do genocide. What the fuck do we call that? Another good one you can also say is, oh, wow, the guy I had on the stump called Donald Trump Hitler. Well, so did his vice president and his HHS secretary. So he's not alone in that. You know? Because they did do that. RFK Jr. and J.D. Vance have both called Donald Trump Adolf Hitler. So
read through all of that. But let's see what they said about the Strait. So Donald Trump talked about the complete, immediate and safe opening of the Strait, whereas Iran's foreign minister, He was a little more nuanced, a little more maybe in the reality of this. He said for a period of 2 weeks, safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be possible via coordination with Iran's armed forces and with due consideration of technical limitations. Two really important points. Armed forces, that suggests Iran is in control, at least according to its foreign ministry, and with due consideration of technical limitation. That is putting the brake on it. We're not just going to see traffic moving, even if companies wanted to move. That is suggestion there. There'll be technical limitations, that it will be slightly throttled. We won't be going back to pre-conflict levels of traffic, and that's before we even consider reports that Iran is going to charge ships to move through this. So the upshot of all that is fuel prices here may remain high for some time. So you've got diesel prices here in black, you've got petrol and green diesel a lot higher. It's increased because we have to import a lot more of it, but both have had that rapid rise. They may stay high for a bit longer. And then the cost of shipping, that also surged with war. It has come down a bit too. Again, there's a bit of expectation there because you're building weeks, months in advance. But this is all contingent on the strait being open as built. At the moment, it doesn't seem like that is the case. And it's the nature of a ceasefire. This isn't the end of a war. This is a ceasefire. There is a lot of uncertainty still to come.
Day 40 of the war could have been apocalypse now, instead of which it feels like apocalypse postponed, because both sides have agreed to a 2-week pause, a ceasefire, while they try to work something out. The Americans have submitted a 15-point set of red lines via Pakistan, which is being considered, and the Iranians have submitted a 10-point series of red lines via Pakistan, which the Americans are thinking about. And President Trump said about this 10-point Iranian series of demands that he thought it was a workable basis for negotiation. That's very curious when you consider some of the things that are in these 10 points. One thing that's in these 10 points is an Iranian demand that the Americans close their bases in the Middle East and withdraw their troops. Now, this is a view of some of the...
Well, perhaps that's a workable solution because those bases have been rendered inoperable. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are they going to do? If anything, they're doing America a favor. So now they don't have to go back and like rebuild the fucking things when it's clear that they're not really invested in the security of the countries anyway. And who knows what the GCC's attitude will be, you know, when all this is said and done.
Main bases, not all of them by any means, but some of the main bases in the region. There are 40,000 American troops normally in the Middle East, plus the 8,000 or so extra who have arrived there in light of this particular crisis. The chances of the United States withdrawing troops, still less closing bases, which have been open for many years, is absolutely zero. They just won't do it. Another Iranian demand is that they be allowed to maintain their civil nuclear power capacity. And they've always said this. We want to be a civil nuclear power, and they say we have no desire to develop a nuclear weapon. Now, they've been lying about that for the last 20-odd years, and presumably they'll continue lying about it.
Why?
But here's the other issue. In their main nuclear plants, these three were hit.
Why? Why are they lying? This is what's so fucking annoying. Like, it's just automatic. Like, anyone that says, I don't think that's the case, actually. Let me tell you what the truth actually looks like. Immediately, you're like, oh, here we go. Another IRGC dick rider. Another Islamic Republic defender. No, man, I'm just defending the fucking truth. Like, why can't we engage in truthful discourse? If you got a fucking biased position against Iran, you can say that you're biased against it. But at least say the truth. It's so fucking annoying.
By the United States, Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan, not Bushehr in the south. They were hit last year. And somewhere in the rubble of those 3 plants, it is believed that the Iranians have got 400 kilos of highly enriched uranium, enriched to about 60%, highly enriched uranium. It may be under the rubble of Isfahan, maybe it's under the rubble of Natanz, maybe it's been split up into 2.
You know what's so annoying about it too? Like what he just casually said right there, no one agrees with. Like no one, the International Atomic Energy Agency disagrees with that statement, and they are obviously the most knowledgeable, right? The only people that repeat this lie, or where this lie comes from, is Israel, and also by way of Israel, America. Your own governments don't believe this. It's just so stupid.
2 or 3 tranches, or maybe it is under
the CIA and the U.S. State Department also don't agree with that sentiment or agree with that assessment either. But at least like American politicians will say it, right? Like they advance that lie. Even if the actual intelligence shows the exact opposite reality, at least there's like American politicians who fucking lie about it, and Israeli politicians who fucking lie about it.
Underneath Pickaxe Mountain, which was built near the Natanz plant, and it's very, very deep, very inaccessible, and it's possible that the Iranians moved their uranium into Pickaxe Mountain before the attack of June last year. Either way, the United States is not going to get its hands on this 400 kilos of highly enriched uranium, whatever it says about Iran's nuclear ambitions for the future.
Yeah.
But of course,
it's so funny because the source that they're using to talk about where the power plants are is the International Atomic Energy Agency, an agency that's supposed to be tasked with like covering the nuclear programs and nuclear arsenal of every one of these countries that has them. And 90% of their work revolves around Iran for some reason, partially because North Korea won't allow them to their facilities. It's not fucking stupid. And also partially because Israel doesn't even admit that they have nukes officially. So it is a spy agency, 100% for the record. And not only that, but there's there's a lot of suspicion that the reason why Israel knew exactly who to kill in the Iranian nuclear program, like civilian scientists, was because they got the data from the International Atomic Energy Agency, for the record. Just another incredible cruelty. Another instance where we have shown our hand, we've shown our real interests, we've shown how fucking violent and barbaric we are, how perfidious we are.
The most immediate issue is the Strait of Hormuz. And Donald Trump has said that these straits will be released as of today, that the straits will immediately become open to shipping. The Iranians have said, well, they will open in the next day or so. But here's the big issue. The normal channel in the Strait of Hormuz goes like that, right around the straits and then along the Iranian side of the Gulf itself. But in the last few days, those ships that they've been allowing through have had to take a different route via the toll booth. And this is where they have to go north of Larak Island and effectively pay their tolls before they get out of the Gulf again. Because in Larak Island, the Iranians can take a good look at them. They could sink them if they wanted to. They can turn them back. And today, so far, day 40, all of the ships that have left the Gulf have been going north of Larak Island. So the Iranians are still operating their restrictive policy so far. If in the coming days they go back to the traditional shipping route, that will be a relief, but it's by no means guaranteed. Donald Trump can make lots of differences in the world. He can influence many things. One thing he can't really influence is Israel's war in Lebanon. The Iranians have said that all fighting must stop, but the Israelis have made it very clear with the most extensive attacks today on Lebanon since the 28th of February that this ceasefire is not to them. They actually will carry on with their war against Hezbollah in Lebanon, whatever happens in the Iran-United States arrangements. which leaves President Trump claiming victory. He says that we have been completely successful diplomatically on all fronts. Well, if we look at all the things that the president has said over the last few weeks about what America's aims are, and they keep changing, but if we put them all together, the fact is not one of those aims has been unambiguously achieved. And some of them are in a worse state now than they were before he started.
This is the same exact dynamic we watched unfold when biased mainstream resources and legacy publishers that had no investment in telling the truth about what was going on the ground in Gaza would, or the ambitions of Hamas, the ambitions of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, the Palestinian resistance, they just misinformed their populations. They misinformed the public. And they're doing the same thing right now. And it's even dumber because at least like in that circumstance, albeit still totally unacceptable, these were non-state actors. Non-state actors that don't have English language communicators, non-state actors who were effectively shut out from developing a line of communication with the rest of the world, right? So it was much easier to disparage them and to refuse to listen to what their demands were. But like doing it to Iran is incredibly stupid because it's a sovereign state. It's a fully fledged country. It has a foreign minister that speaks English perfectly. And it makes it even dumber. To me, it's even dumber that they're trying to do this with Iran, where they're like, what could the ambitions be here? Oh, well, America tried to fucking achieve its military objectives and there's miscommunication taking place in the back and forth conversation. It's like, no, there isn't. It's confusing to you if you're just not paying attention at all. It's confusing to you if you have a totally distorted framework that you're operating off of. You're totally biased, and your job is not to really look at this stuff and try to interpret it. None of this stuff is strange. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, the reason why I'm maintaining this position is because you have to look at why this ceasefire took place. Okay? Look at why the ceasefire happened. Because America wanted it to happen. Why did America want it to happen? Because America was looking at the risk calculation, recognizing that they're incapable of reaching their military goals. They'd failed dramatically in achieving any of those military goals. They didn't deteriorate Iran's strike capabilities. They didn't even develop full air superiority over the Iranian airspace. They had no way of extracting this enriched uranium in this like super ambitious military campaign. They recognize that it's virtually impossible for them to overtake Karg Island or any number of different islands without, putting sufficient boots on the ground and developing an area like a cordon sanitaire with drones and with sufficient aerial assets. Like, it's just not going to happen. So they failed on all that. Okay. They recognized they failed on that. They understood that clearly the cards are in Iran's hands. And that's precisely the reason why they were advocating for a ceasefire behind the scenes by way of Pakistan. That's what the reality is. So any kind of conversation around this, like, oh, well, we don't know why America engaged in this. Like, well, we do know why. We know why. It's not dissimilar to the 12-Day War, when the Israeli defense munitions were deteriorated and America had to literally stop Israel. America had to tell Israel, enough. You don't have enough munitions to defend yourselves. And even then, it's clear that Iranian missiles are striking deep inside of Tel Aviv and potentially even in the Negev desert, where a lot of the Israeli Air Force is. That's where their big air base is. And we don't even know what kind of assets that they've been able to destroy. We've only seen the success on the runways of Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and many other places. We don't know how successfully they've destroyed the Israeli fleets that exist. We only have suspicions. And also on top of that, they are capable of striking industrial areas and whatnot. And it's clear that Israel is getting cooked. But they're so fucking insane that they think, no, we'll get into the suicide pact as long as America is by our side. As long as we can achieve our main objective, which is to destroy Iran, rip it apart piece by piece, without any care or consideration for what happens to the 93 million people that live there, right? They'll do it. Yeah, we'll read this. Nathan Taylor Pemberton wrote, Hassan Piker can stream, but can he stump? I want to see the photos because this guy took so many photos of me throughout the entire day. Okay, these are not bad. These are not bad. Interesting style. Very heavy on the flash, but I do wonder if there's credence to the theory Israel's also trying to degrade America's presence in the Middle East. No, fuck no. No, not at all. There's credence to the theory that Israel is careless and inconsiderate about what happens to the Gulf because a weaker Gulf is good for Israel. That's real. That's a real part of the objective. So the more they hit Iran and the more Iran retaliates to the Gulf, the better it is for Israel. Okay? 100%. Yeah, I saw this. Is very funny. Hassan standing there like his lawyer. But no, as far as like removing America's influence from the region, no, they don't agree with that at all. As a matter of fact, they still want to maintain American military presence so hard in the Gulf that they have now finally openly admitted that they're willing to turn Israel into a direct American military base. Part of that, I think, also is because, you're just cutting out the middleman there, recognizing that the Gulf is unsustainable to defend, and that America still has a foothold in the region. How is a weaker Gulf good for Israel? What do you mean? Chatter, any country in the region must be weak for Israel. Every country. The Gulf has other allies, not only China, but also Turkey, for example. Israel wants to destroy Turkey. Turkey's next after Iran. They've already Babe Ruth style called out their shot. Okay? That Turkey's next. If they engage in land acquisition or the same stuff that they're doing to Iran, but to Turkey, what do you think the Gulf is going to do? There's Turkish military base in the Gulf, like in Qatar, right? Let's say somehow Israel was able to convince America to pull Turkey out of NATO or something, right? This is hypothetical. It's fucking ridiculous. Not going to happen, most likely, but, that's the explanation for your Israel hate. Buddy, what's really funny about that is I've been far more critical of Turkey for literally aligning with Israel. This is a relatively new phenomenon from the Israeli side. You don't know anything about anything. Turkey is the primary party involved in sending energy to the Israeli grid by way of Azerbaijan, Baku Ceyhan. There's a pipeline that goes from Azerbaijan into Turkey to ports on the southern point of Turkey with Turkish ships, Turkish tankers that take the oil and gas and deliver it to the Haifa port in Israel. Okay? The fleets that do this are owned by Erdogan's son. or son-in-law, one or the other. I can't remember. Israel is still threatening to destroy NATO and Turkey, because Turkey still has some semblance of sovereignty as a regional actor. America lets it happen because it's a reliable vassal state for American interests in the region, and Israel doesn't like that. Your talking points is anti-EU, even though we agree with you. You are using the same biased viewpoints that Fox News uses against you, against European media perceptions. We hate Trump. Orban is disliked. Vance lands in Hungary and helps him with Orban's election. You get that, right? Buddy, I don't think you understand. I know Europeans, I know regular Europeans despise Donald Trump. I'm saying your leadership is cucked, okay? And it's something you should understand and be sympathetic to, because I'm an American citizen and my administration, my government is nowhere near as responsive as European liberal democracies are supposed to be, okay? At least I know that we don't have a real democratic process. Europe, I believe in, okay? Especially because Europe is supposed to still be independent. European Union is a powerful force on the planet still. My demand is that European leadership become more responsive to the needs of the population. That is very different than whatever the fucking Trumpian argument against Europe really is. Okay? I've never, as a matter of fact, the reason why I say EU is so cucked is because I am totally aware that the European population wants changes. The European population is demanding changes, sometimes even more aggressively than my countrymen do, right? Look at what's happening in Italy with like strikes at ports and general strikes that take place to make demands of the Italian government to decouple from Israel, right? And yet, why do European leaders refuse to listen to those demands? Why do European leaders place democracy under threat? It's because they're vassals. They're vassals to slaves to both the interests of capital, just as our leadership is slaves to international capital here in America, right? European leaders are no different. But they're also slaves to America, and by extension of America, to Israel. And that's precisely the reason why the overwhelming majority of European population's demands are never addressed. And instead of leaning into those popular demands, deciding to cut away from the United States of America, deciding to develop sovereignty and dignity for yourselves, for your nations, show the world that middle powers, when aligned with one another, can actually build a powerful coalition. The European Union is already there. Instead of doing that, instead of defending liberal democracy, European leadership, what does European leadership do? Time and time again, they show that they're totally fucking cucked. Fuck every fat American fuck. And the same goes for Mark Carney. Right? Mark Carney is the exact same situation. It's unbearable to watch. I, as an American, hope that one day these middle powers can rise up against America and demand changes. That's what my goal is. I'm saying this as an American. I'm saying show your might. Show your power. Develop dignity. Develop sovereignty. Say no to America so that we are forced to retreat. So that hopefully we'll have more responsive politicians that will focus on American needs rather than advancing the needs of empire that don't help everyday Americans, but instead only help the needs of capital owners.
מדינת ישראל השיגה הישגים אדירים. הישגים שעד לא מזמן היו נראים דמיוניים לגמרי. יש לנו עוד יעדים להשלים.
I hate this fucking asshole. Every goddamn day, bro. He's like, oh, we are a great power now. We're dominating the world. Look how much I'm fucking up Donald Trump. Look how much I play him like a fiddle in Hebrew. And then in English, he's like, America, we have delivered great sacrifice for your safety and security. We are dying every day confronting head on the dangers of Islamic terrorism. And then in Hebrew, he's like, oh, these Americans are so fucking fat and stupid. I know personally because I lived in Philadelphia and I hate the birds. Okay. I would never say go birds. And also simultaneously, I love